Hey everybody, good to see you. My name is Pastor Scott. I'm here with Pastor Spence. It is nice weather outside, so we're the Flannel Bros today. So it's good to be with you. Listen, we're so excited to be in your living room this evening, this morning, whenever you're meeting, because when we sit down in community and talk about the things we've been talking about, I'm sure it's been really valuable, and I'm really thankful for this season. So, Pastor Spence, we're coming right off of Advanced Commitment Night.
Yep.
We're coming up on Commitment Sunday. So, how are you feeling? What are you sensing for our church right now?
Yeah, this is a cool moment because when we're recording this, it's right before Advanced Commitment Night, just the way the whole recording thing works. So I'm like anticipating that and then also looking ahead to Commitment Sunday. But one thing that I'm like, it feels a little like right before we planted our church, which is cool because we've been talking a little bit about that, about how like first generation faith, and now we're in the second generation of the church, and how do we but how do we capture first generation faith with second generation resources? And I actually feel a lot of the nervousness, how's this going to go, that I felt on launch day. It's like some version of that. But I'm really excited just because of all the stuff I'm already beginning to hear. But man, I feel excited because I've seen God prove himself faithful in some of those other places. Feels like God's about to do something really cool through our church, but I have those nerves that come with, man, we're stepping out in faith and we don't exactly know how this is all going to go.
Right.
Which I love.
Yeah, I think looking at the history books of our church, if you will, obviously launching Mercy Church, but this feels like another, like as we look back years from now, it's this was one of the biggest moments in the history of our church.
Yep.
Well, one of the cool things that you get to kind of see as our lead pastor is you kind of get a front seat to a lot of different stories that are happening in our church, whether it be from an email or somebody telling you a story of how they're processing all of this. Any cool stories, just so that our people in the living room right now can kind of hear the things that you're hearing? Any cool stories to kind of share, just to encourage everybody?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of them that actually I hope will be helpful as you're processing towards what's your commitment going to be for the all to him commitment. Because again, our biggest thing here, primary goal number one is 100% participation. So everybody takes a step, whatever that step might be for you, everybody takes a step. So let me give you a couple that have kind of already been told to me. One, from a young guy in his early 20s, and then from a woman, actually a couple, but it was the wife that came up to me in her early 50s. The guy in his 20s said, man, I've never tithed before.
Wow.
Just have never, and he comes up to me after service. He's like, I'm a little bit nervous, but I've been listening and I feel like convicted. And so I'm going to take a step and trust the Lord, and I'm excited. And what I loved about it was there wasn't like a negative perception or a negative story that the Lord overcame. It was more just lack of awareness of the Bible's teaching.
Yeah.
And so now he's been exposed to that, and he's got an open heart. As you know, the whole saying, open heart and an open Bible together, that's good. That's a good recipe for following the Lord. And so he's been in community group, and he's been there on the weekend and processing all that, and he's taken a step. So I love that. It's just such a simple thing. He's trusting the Lord, and I was like, man, the Lord's going to bless that. Always. He blesses obedience. The second was a woman who comes up to me, and she says, we've been following the Lord a long time, and I got to tell you, this is a way of encouragement. So this is me passing along encouragement. She said, man, it was about 20 years ago that she first had this kind of situation where I was like, man, the Lord was calling her to a commitment in a church setting.
Similar type thing.
Yeah, similar type thing. But she said she felt very clear of what that number was supposed to be. And I say that because we're all kind of doing that right now, as we're saying, what's the number going to be that we commit? And she said, the number that I felt like the Lord called me to was scary. She said, and actually I was traveling, or my husband was traveling. We weren't together.
Yeah.
So I called him and I told him, here's what I think it needs to be. And he's like, that's scary. So they pray about it together and decide, all right, we're going to do that. She said, man, not only did that thing that was scary, the Lord proved himself faithful. It wasn't as scary as we thought when we did it. The Lord provided. And she said it knit our heart to that ministry for the past 20 years. Even as we've moved into a new city, man, our heart is still knit there to that ministry, to that local church. And I was like, man, this is such a good moment of, I feel like I needed both. I needed to see like fresh discipleship, someone taking a step they've never taken before. And I need to be reminded from someone how this kind of moment can shape the next 20 years of your life.
That's good.
So man, let it like just guys, whether you need, whichever one of those you need, or maybe a different one, and y'all can share some stories about how you're processing. I'm just telling you, the Lord's moving among us, and the step you're taking now really can shape the rest of your life in a really cool way.
That's good. That's good. Well, as we, as this community group starts to transition into the guides, one of the questions talks about time, talent, treasure, tomorrow. Why talk about those things? Why do you think those questions are important to analyze, think through, pray about?
All right. So I think what these are, if you'll give me a little bit of an illustration, the Proverbs 3 talks about trust in the Lord with all your heart and in all your ways acknowledge him. I'm going to use the illustration of a chair because it's the most simple one I could use. There's a difference between me saying, I trust this chair. I'm standing on my own 2 feet and I'm looking at that chair and going, yeah, that chair will hold me. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between that kind of trust and sitting down in this chair.
Putting all your weight in.
That's right. Yeah. Putting all my weight on it is saying, no, I trust this chair. The evidence is I'm sitting on it. I think the chair of your life is held up by the 4 legs of time, talent, treasure, and tomorrow. All right. So if I think of it that way, it's like these are the expressions that you actually are trusting God with your whole life. It reveals you're placing the weight of your life onto him. Mm-hmm. Again, illustrations always break down, but hopefully that helps articulate it. Like, man, time, are you serving, right? Do you serve the Lord with your time? Talent, are you using your gifts that God has given you? Treasure, this is the financial things. A lot of what we're talking about with the all to him, financial component of this. And then I've added in this 4th leg of tomorrow. The first 3 come from Randy Alcorn's treasure principle. I've added in this 4th one of tomorrow because we have a congregation, especially regardless of how old you are, but there are a lot of young adults and college students. I'm like, man, what if your future, are you trusting God with your future? What if you're thinking about, what does God want for a career path? What does God want for me? By the way, that does not mean everybody goes into vocational ministry. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm just saying I'm bringing the Lord first, seeking him first for what I'm going to do with my life and asking, what does God want for me? Not just what's the best paycheck or best path and that kind of thing. But what's the Lord want for me?
Yeah, that's really good. I think anytime we're trying to evaluate the spiritual state of our life, these 4 legs might be a great place to start.
That's right.
So as we transition into community group and to talk about these things, our prayer as your pastors is really that in this community, you get to talk about all these things together, because we know that in community, when you talk about it, it helps to process. It helps to open God's word together. And we're just so thankful that you're joined us this evening, this morning, wherever you're meeting in community group. Mercy Church, you are sent.